Alrighty guys, forgive me, it's a darker video trying to find the light here again, but this is the only way I'm going to do this. I realized you can hear the birds. Okay, I'm ripping and running and have a lot to do, but I was able to get through a big portion of this book. So this again is Broken Plea by Christopher Whitcomb. I was able to read last night, and what he said about Dylan Mortensen, I'll probably make that the title of this video because I feel like it was just kind of unfair. He's going to talk about seeing the body cam videos. He's seen the unredacted portion when the first officer Nunez arrived at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, and he's talking about for the entire 21 minutes of this video, Officer Nunez's body cam when he's interviewing Dylan Mortensen, one of the surviving roommates, of course. He's going to talk about, she didn't shed a single tear. Now, we can't confirm this because we've only seen the blurred body cam. I don't know if we'll ever see the unblurred body cam. I don't want to edit. I'm just going to push through. But I wanted to show you the contents of this huge book. I realize now there is a discrepancy between, the hardcover, if you get it, here it is, $31.99. This book I didn't know I would purchase, but if you get it, this one is 431 pages. There's the author. I'm just a mess here without editing, but that's okay. That's Christopher Whitcomb, former FBI agent, trying to get it to be unblurry. 431 pages. I read in the group, someone wrote that Christopher Whitcomb was able to, he had to cut out a certain amount of pages. So if you look at the print length on Amazon, you'll notice how it's longer. So supposedly he had to cut out a chunk of 25 pages or something like that so as not to, put himself in trouble legally or defame someone, I guess. But as you can see from the contents, we have, let's get my hair off of the book. There's the author's note. I made it through that. I've been highlighting key individuals and the prologue. Made it through all that, and I made it through chapter 1. The S word, French fries, silver sedan. Actually, he is a good writer. If he wrote this, I'm not sure if he had a ghostwriter or not. That was part of my thought process. Not that FBI agents can't be great writers, but I did wonder if he had a ghostwriter. But let's go through some of the parts I've highlighted. I'll try and speak a little louder to, compete with all the geese or ducks on the river. I'm on a river now. I'm parked next to a river, one of my favorite places. Okay, this part is important. I'm going to read from page 10 because he talks about Bill Thompson, the prosecutor, had to hand his files over to Bryan Kohberger's lawyer, and Ann Taylor was Bryan Kohberger's lawyer, who in turn farmed them out to experts for exculpatory opinion. As fate would have it, 2 of those experts seeking transparency provided me, this is Whitcomb, with a large chunk of Thompson's Brady disclosure. So I wanted to make that clear that he had a large chunk of Thompson's Brady disclosure. He did not have the entire discovery. Already I've seen some people kind of mistake that for the notion that Whitcomb had the entire discovery. I don't know how much a large chunk is, but he says, he got a large chunk of this discovery in the case, a cache of 59,000 files, wow, containing more than 200,000 largely unredacted exhibits. He's saying, from autopsy photos to the contents of Kohberger's phone, I have reviewed it all in my research for this book. So he didn't have everything. I've already seen people kind of misconstrue that. I'm very much an exacting person for a person's exact words, unless it's an obvious typo or something like I've seen here. For example, I'm not doing this to call him out because Lord knows I've made my share of typos, but on the very next page, it starts with, the state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th, 2020, Mr. Kohberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the 1122 King Road area. residence. He's trying to quote, I believe, Bill Thompson, but obviously it's not July 9th, 2020. We know Kohberger was not in Washington that early. And then the next line, it goes right down to say, between July 9th, 2022 and November 7th, the defendant's phone connected to that particular tower. Okay, so stuff like that I normally just would not bring up. I know it's just a simple little typo. He didn't mean 2020, he meant 2022. No harm, no foul. Stuff like that, of course, we just excuse away. But other stuff, I don't know, it gets a little... I'm trying to find this guy's angle. So in essence, he talks about Thompson, you know, standing up there during Bryan's change of plea hearing when he pled guilty. And he's talking about Thompson's speech, you know, that we all were like, wow. He talks about, okay, compiled surveillance that the investigators put together from businesses and residents basically are showing what Thompson says was the defendant's car, the white Elantra, circling 1122 King Road, you know, all that stuff we've seen, making a U-turn, zooming off, whatever. Whitcomb writes, nothing in the files I reviewed show anything of that kind. You know, that's such a declarative statement. Of course, Whitcomb has an issue with times when prosecutors are saying this was definitely Bryan Kohberger here or there or leaving. And he's saying, yeah, sure, it was a white Elantra. We don't know if it was Kohberger. So he's definitely splitting hairs there, which I understand. I understand his point of view. But some stuff I'm like, I really got to go back and compare this to the evidence, the actual evidence files they did release to us. Because on page 15, he's saying, this is what Whitcomb is writing. Thompson does not address the fact that Ethan's naked body was covered with a blanket sometime after he was dead. Okay, people are taking issue with that. The insinuation is that someone covered up Ethan after he had already been killed. Others take issue with that as if, no, it didn't happen that way. He's saying he does not divulge evidence showing that despite a trail of blood from Maddie's room on the 3rd floor to Xana's on the 2nd, not a drop was found in the bed where Ethan supposedly died at the hands of a lone offender. Okay, he's trying to say, this guy in this book is trying to say, not a drop of blood was found in the bed where Ethan supposedly died at the hands of a lone offender. Like, have we not, even though, you know, even though it's redacted, the photos we saw, most of them, remember the photo of the white Elantra, and there was even a mattress behind it, and you can see blood soaked through the mattress? That presumably was Ethan's mattress, well, Xana's mattress, where he was laying. So I'm thinking, what is he saying? Why is he saying not a drop of blood was found in the bed where Ethan supposedly died at the hands of a lone offender? Remember Ethan, it was Ethan's blood, and forgive me for getting graphic. I don't generally like to get too graphic, but remember it was Ethan's blood that he bled so much. He bled through and down, and the blood on the outside of the home. So I don't understand what he's saying here. And then he starts talking about the clump of hair. There is no mention that a clump of hair was discovered in Ethan's closed fist, presumably pulled in a fight with his killer. Okay, that's a reach, maybe, I don't know. There's no citation of laboratory evaluation because there was none. The hair, indeed labeled debris, was never examined beyond color and length. There was no attempt to identify its source using DNA. I'll kind of give you guys a look at what he's writing there. Everything is kind of like to leave a question mark. And what scares me is that people who don't have any of the discovery or don't have any of the public records can just take his word, Christopher Whitcomb's word, as fact without having anything else to compare it to. I just don't believe there was no blood in Ethan's bed. Some of the stuff I had to highlight and read over again. Not a drop of blood was found in the bed where Ethan supposedly died at the hands of a lone offender. I'm like, what? And the advantage, actually, of this man, I was thinking, his advantage is that he can say, okay, I'm a former FBI agent. He has great credibility. I'm trying to get him to not look so blurry. But also, he has seen discovery that no one else beyond, authorities will see. He's seen unblurred stuff. He's seen unredacted stuff. So it's almost like you can't necessarily challenge him because he's saying, I've seen the unredacted body cam. I've seen stuff you guys haven't seen. Like, I'm not going to put it in the book. I'm not going to do a screenshot of Dylan with no tears on her face. I won't include it. I haven't seen Nan photo. I've showed you guys that table, and that's all I just saw right now. I haven't seen any actual photo of the evidence he's referencing. Some of it I understand. Yes, don't include stuff that would be too upsetting, but still. He even wrote here on page 24, he questions how a lone assassin with no ties to any of the victims entered the house on King Road in the middle of the night, committed 4 murders in around 4 minutes. I was like, okay, was it really 4 minutes? Where did he get that from? To me, I don't think it's difficult to let your mind go there and believe that Bryan Kohberger could commit 4 murders in a short time, because Bryan had the element of preparation and surprise. Who knows how long he premeditated it, how long he thought of performing these murders. Lemonade today. And honestly, Kaylee, I think probably all 4 of them were drunk off their butts. Okay, no shade, no victim blaming, nothing. They were college kids. If you're drunk off your butt in the middle of the night, of course someone would have the jump on you if you're not expecting some K-bar carrying lunatic wearing a baklava to come in there and scare you and get the jump on you. Obviously, you could perform the slayings pretty quickly. If, Ethan, let's say Ethan, did he ever wake up? Was he passed out the whole time? Ethan may have put up no fight. I don't know what that hair was. Ethan was naked. What if it had been Xana's hair from, when they got home? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Anyway, there's a letter too in part 1. Bryan Kohberger wrote a letter to his dog. Okay, October 9th, 2023. Dear Scout, that's his dog's name. Earlier, you and I, unbeknownst to you, communicated. I have no doubt that your heart, capital H, was conscious of what I intended. Always of your pack, brother. Isn't that wild? Bryan C. Kohberger, letter to his dog from Latah County Jail. So did his mom kind of pass that along? I just wondered. I mean, I'm a dog lover too, I understand, but I don't know if I've ever written a letter to my dog. Thank God I've never been in jail. Okay, so this is chapter 1. I was able to make it through this last night. A lot of it is, it's interesting. Stuff I might not have observed. The song, My Only Enemy is Me. And that's must have been what was playing on Officer Nunez's car when he pulled up, no lights going, to 1122 King Road. He was responding to what he thought was simply an unconscious person. Someone passed out. And it is interesting because, Whitcomb, he does do some great writing when his research states that, okay, Nunez, he was young, but he wasn't necessarily a newbie. He had volunteered for 5 years beforehand. Oh, this wind feels delightful. Thank you, God. He had volunteered for the Moscow PD, I guess, 5 years beforehand. So even though Officer Nunez was pretty young, he wasn't a total newbie. So he responded. I like Officer Mitch Nunez. Is that how you pronounce his name? He's behind the wheel of his SUV. The audio kicks in. I'm up against something I can't beat. And so I like when he's including these lyrics. I love song lyrics. So once Nunez realizes the scene he's walking in on, he's like, whoa, F. So he picks up on things too that I didn't necessarily pick up in the body cam, whether it was redacted for our version or not. Of course, a lot of, black over the whole thing when they were discovering the bodies, the victims. And then I don't know if certain portions of the audio was redacted, but they're talking about Hunter Johnson was there. I'm not even going to edit that out because seriously, I can't do this without just going forward. And I checked to see if she's breathing, he says, stepping into Xana's room. This is Hunter telling Officer Nunez. And then it says, he stands over the body of a young woman clad in underwear and a hoodie. And she's dead hard. I didn't even know. Maybe I knew Hunter said that, but I don't know. And they're talking about Nunez is affirming, they're DRT. He says that on the radio. Moscow Dispatch would know DRT means dead right there. Dead right there. So stuff I didn't really catch myself necessarily. Okay, where are we? Male's voice. A lot of it too, he goes over, I understand there was confusion with Officer Nunez. He was concerned with writing his report. When he wrote his report, Nunez did say he was mixing up Kaylee with Xana. So there was a mix-up in his mind as to who was on the second floor, who was on the third floor. And, just going over Dylan's story. And of course, I understand questions. Of course, during the first press conference, there were questions like, wait a minute, this crime happened at 4 a.m. and yet a phone call wasn't made until like 8 hours later, 11:56 a.m. And, they didn't know the people were dead. I get it. Like, to me, it does strike me as weird, but I also know life is weird. I've never seen some brutal crime, and I don't know how I would react. I think we all say, oh, I would have done everything perfectly. I would have done this. I would have, tackled the suspect. I would have immediately called 911. I would have gotten a photo of him. I would have gotten, people think they would have done things differently. If these girls were frightened and drunk and who knows what, and, Dylan closing her door, he does question, okay, Dylan, if she was so frightened like she claimed she was, why wouldn't she immediately call 911? I think of it as Dylan, I believe, I've read different, you read things online, you read things supposedly from insiders. Dylan was kind of taught to not call 911. They were always having the cops there come. The cops always came to their house because of all the parties, the noise, the drinking. So maybe in the forefront of Dylan's mind is, yes, I'm scared. Something has happened in this house. I don't know what. And he, makes a big deal about when Dylan ran down from her room to go down to Bethany's room on the first floor, how she saw she thought Xana was passed out. But the author's like, how could she look at Xana and think that girl was passed out? Well, of course, that's easy for an FBI agent to say. And I don't know what the lighting situation was where Xana was laying supine on the floor, her feet, I think, facing out into the hallway. He's giving Dylan crap in a matter of words for not immediately recognizing there was this quadruple murder in her home when she just, ran down. She spotted Xana and she was on her way to Bethany's house and she thought Xana was passed out. He's giving her crap for not knowing everything had happened, what all happened. And my whole point is Dylan, and I'm sure Bethany too, were trained to not call 911 because they didn't want the cops there. They didn't want, under normal circumstances, they didn't want the cops to catch them with, who knows, just drinking, underage drinking. I don't know if any illicit substances. I'm not, putting any victim blaming, but on anyone who may have been in the house, these things might have been in the forefront of their minds. And that could be one reason the thought of calling 911 didn't occur to them. And denial. Denial is a powerful thing. Here's the point I want to get to. I just made a Facebook post about it and about the letter Bryan to his dog. But this, I keep running into the top of my car here. Okay, page 45. He goes through the whole body cam experience, and you know, with Jack D being there and different people being there and Dylan being there, and what Officer Nunez didn't do, and how he's, you know, trying to get descriptions instead of asking all these probing questions of Dylan. And I don't know, he's kind of criticizing the police too for what he would have done differently, I guess. Too bad Whitcomb wasn't there investigating. He would have gotten everything right. On page 45 he wrote, sorry, I'm not trying to be rough on this author. I mean, I'm just trying to get to what evidence does he have, and I wish there was literally more of it in the book, but I'm only on chapter 1. Okay, 45, he wrote, "It's worth noting that in 21 minutes of recorded crying, as seen on the video, it does not seem to me that Mortensen shed a single actual tear." To me, that was like rough. First of all, we can never confirm it if we'll never see the actual body cam video ourselves. We only see redacted stuff. We've only seen redacted stuff. So we'll have to take his word for it. This 19-year-old girl who is realizing, wait a minute, there really was someone in my house last night. Oh, look at the doggy. What's her doggy back there? There really was someone in my house last night. Let me try and, I like to blur people when I can. She realized there really was someone in my house last night. She might have been drunk off her butt or whatever. You know, they did those Borgs, those big gallons of stuff. I'm trying to block that guy. I know people are in public, you know, whatever, but I still like to block them. She's a 19-year-old girl. She was probably drunk off of her butt. Where was I going with this? He's claiming, you know, she didn't cry at all in that body cam video. In 21 minutes of it, she didn't shed an actual tear. To me, on Facebook, I wrote, that's almost as bad as the people who on Twitter or X, you know, someone was writing something horrible about Dylan. I've seen so many horrible things. Why do people put so much on her? We could see how upset she was at the hearing. I mean, I put the photos on Facebook. Since I'm not probably editing this video, I'll just maybe edit a thumbnail. But the girl was truly upset. She was distraught in court. She's been through a lot. She was afraid. You know, she had to leave and go stay with her parents. She slept in the bed with her parents. Obviously, she was traumatized. But what is he insinuating by saying she didn't shed a tear? You know, and they didn't ask enough probing questions. And some people just, yeah, it's such horrible comments about Dylan, and I don't understand the vitriol of grown-ass adults. I'm sorry, at our big age, some people, like my age or around my age, are dogging out this girl since she was 19 years old. Just because, I get it, people don't react in a way that might seem normal or seem logical. I don't know. We don't know at all. So that's pretty much the first page. You know, he does a lot of the court stuff, the hearing, the change of plea, when Bryan is like guilty, guilty, guilty. You know, he talks a little bit about Bethany perhaps hearing that pop or the bang. She was not sure what she heard, a flash or something. So that's a lot of the first chapter. I've gotten that far, and this is the only way kind of I can do this, because I'm creating a lot of content, a lot of places. So we have to go through chapter 2. It's going to be Vandal's football and ring cam device, some you know, frat stuff. Chapter 3, White Claw. Chapter 4, beer pong, girl in the window. Oh, that's going to be like Molly, the DoorDash driver, talking about the girl in the window. Chapter 5, Starry Nights and Modus Operandi. Chapter 6, okay, so then we'll move into part 2, the August effect. Chapter 6, Vampire Diaries. That's when they watch. Oh, he talks about the Borg too. Black baklava, but the Borg is that big old gallon of liquor. I mean, that would have put me on my butt. I'm a lightweight. I could not drink that much. Rage Kill. Chapter 7, Lurid Dreams. It's a lot. Chapter 8, Baby Daddy. I wonder what that's about. Baby Daddy. High Noon's Firework. Chapter 9, The Mad Greek Treehouse. Chapter 10, Halloween Stuff, Victimology, Terrible Toothache. Oh, that'll be when, who was it, Dylan? Bethany had the terrible toothache that morning of the murders. Chapter 11, Range Rover, Murphy, Homecoming. Okay, and then we're going to move into Absolute Devotion. We read a little bit of that yesterday because I like skipping ahead. I just wanted to read what, you know, his mom was saying in the transcript that we don't have. Maybe we'll have it. Please, Christopher Whitcomb, please put out Bryan Kohberger's 38-page transcript. If you have to open a Patreon, if you have one, if you have to put it there, I will join it so we can read it. I want to know everything his mom said. I mean, you have such access to discovery that no one else has. I mean, come on. Chapter 12, Brian's phone, Palouse River Drive, redacted. Chapter 13, oh, interesting. Othram Laboratories, ibuprofen, Dylan's green jacket. It's almost like, has this guy gone through everything he's seen online about all the questions people have brought up about this case? I'm not saying it's a perfect case, but I'm not of the mindset that some people have. Oh, poor little Brian. He didn't want to die, and he's an undercover agent, and you know, you've heard all these crazy things. He's an undercover agent, and he took the blame because he's autistic, and he didn't understand. You hear the wildest theories about this guy. Whereas, no, I believe he committed it. I believe he committed these murders. Chapter 14, Dark SUV, Loud Exhaust. And then we have Chapter 15, Drunk or Not, Death Row, The New Normal, the acknowledgments, and about the author. Only, I say, 431 pages. I'm glad I got it. Like, I want to give him a fair shake. I want to go through it. I never want to be part of an echo chamber. You know, there are people who say, you've got to look at the fog lights. You've got to look at this. You've got to look at that. So I give people the benefit of the doubt, and I want to examine all the evidence as much as possible, as much as we possibly can. But when we get to the point almost where, I don't know, we're kind of throwing shade at a 19-year-old victim. Maybe he didn't mean it that way. Okay. Let me close with Jeremiah. I just read it. Heal me, Lord, and I will be healed. Save me, Lord, and I will be saved. You are the one I praise. So we're getting there. Forgive these impromptu, maybe you even like them better, type of videos. I got stuff to do. I need to go to Cold Stone, pick up a birthday cake, and I need to do some decorating. I need to do a lot of stuff. So I'm like, I have no time to edit or desire, and I have a lot of content I've been putting on Facebook. And as you guys know, I cover other cases like the Costco shooting. I just, you know, got their 911 calls, public records. There's so much. Oh my goodness. Oh, that girl, Malia Allen, the one who just reportedly, allegedly just killed her father, but he seemingly was abusive to her. So there's this big Justice for Malia campaign. There's so many rabbit trails I get on in cases I want to cover, and I can only kind of cover them on Facebook, or, you know, I want to get through this book for you guys who haven't purchased it, and give you the highlights, give you what I think might be wrong. I mean, that Ethan, no blood in his bed. Is this whole book, is this about a guy who's relying on his credibility as a former FBI agent and the opportunity to see more discovery than any of us have ever seen to, I won't say play us, okay, I don't want to go that far, but to kowtow to the segment of society who, unfortunately, there are more conspiracy theorists these days who say, oh, Brian couldn't have done it. So they finally have a more credible book that kind of hits on all of their little talking points without putting the actual evidence in the book. That's another thing that annoys me. And when I say that, I mean, you guys know when I get, for example, public records requests, whether it's videos or audio or PDFs, I tend to like to put a lot of them on my Patreon because some of you guys, you know, some of you guys just want like a snippet YouTube part. I get it, break it down, summarize, whatever happened, fine. Some other people want to see, I want to see the actual document. I want to download the actual PDF, you know, and that's why I do it. So hopefully Whitcomb, maybe I'll look and see if he can open a Patreon, or has he opened one where, for example, he can say, here guys, okay, here's Bryan Kohberger's 38 pages that I didn't include in the book. I hope he can do that. So then we see actual evidence, or we see, I wish he would put the report. Where is the report saying, and I'll look for it after this video too, and you guys can comment and let me know, where is the report saying not a single drop of blood was found in Ethan's bed? And by Ethan's bed, I mean Xana's bed. Is that true? I mean, I have to go back through and verify or debunk what he's saying. But is he looking at this as, okay, the biggest case of the century, he called it, and he ended up getting a chunk of discovery, and he has credibility as an FBI agent former, so he can put this out there and, you know what I'm saying, kind of be the voice of the pro-burgers in a way. I don't know. I'm going to keep reading. Again, I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I like to hear all viewpoints. I do not like echo chambers. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned. I'm going to continue reading this, of course, researching other cases, so just stay tuned, probably for more car videos, or I'll do some at home too. Take care.